For many, My Chemical Romance were the band that changed their life. The band that saved them. But something about them really fucking irked a certain subsection of rock fans. Readers of British rock magazine Kerrang! Voted them best and worst band of the year. Such was their polarizing appeal. It's debatable what warranted this reaction. Maybe it was their aesthetic, their demeanour, their fans. Most likely it was just an older generation of rock fans, not understanding the appeal of these new upstarts. And yet, My Chemical Romance were probably the most important rock band of the 2000s. They were the saviours of the outcasts. With most bands, their origin story goes the same way. Met in their hometown, started playing music, left their hometown. There's very little in the way of external catalyst. My Chemical Romance, on the other hand, formed because of 9/11. While working as a jobbing cartoonist, singer Gerard Way was travelling into New York for a meeting with Cartoon Network when he saw the first tower collapse.
So when that first building went, it was like an A-bomb went off of just this emotion, and it was it made you nauseous. I was more upset for the people around me than for myself. I think one of the first thoughts that went in my head when it went down is, what does this mean? What does this mean for the world? How's this going to change everything?
With this new context, Wade contacted some old friends asking, what are you doing with your life? Are you happy? Do you want to form a band? The purpose wasn't just to make music, it was to make a significant difference, to help people, which was something none of the future members of the band thought they were achieving at the time. The band's name itself came from the back of an Irvine Welsh anthology. Way took ownership of the romance, adding the personal "my" due to his ongoing dealings with antidepressants and alcohol. There are references to his addictions throughout the first two releases. Most memorably in Head First for Halos, wherein he describes his self-medication routine and consequent suicidal inclination. And now the red ones say things are everything must have been fun, and I think I've blown my brains against the ceiling. Fans could see their own experiences in these songs. They could relate on a deeper level and feel like they were not the only ones dealing with these problems. This was the heart of MCR's message. Way eventually cleaned himself up in late 2004, a few months after the release of 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge. This was where MCR would refine their message, their sound, and define their legacy.
The concept for the record, 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge, was the story of a man and a woman who are separated by death in a gunfight. And he goes to hell only to realize by the devil telling him that she's still alive. The devil says, you could be with her again if you bring me the souls of 1,000 evil men. And so he hands him a gun and he says, I'll go do it.
The album is presented as a rip-roaring revenge flick, the kind that Tarantino would balk at for being too over the top, with a lot of influence not just from B-movie horror, but comic books like Watchmen. The album dealt with a variety of topics. As well as addiction and suicide, there were themes of homosexuality, rejection, mental health, and hope. Each song was written with short story insight detailing the revenge quest. To the End is about a massacre at a wedding. The Jet Set Life Is Gonna Kill Me is the protagonist's continual hunt for evil souls taking a toll on his morality. I Never Told You What I Do for a Living is his inevitable betrayal, and, spoilers, death. This geekiness for detail and cinematic scope made it so that other geeky rock fans had a contemporary band to call their own. And while the narrative is schlocky and entertaining in a B-movie fashion, the album also deals with loss in a very real and affecting way. Mostly due to the recent passing of Way's grandmother, Elena Lee Rush. Reflections on her death run throughout, but most significantly on opening track, Helena. It's a really angry open letter to myself. It's about why I wasn't around for this woman who was so special to me, why I wasn't there for the last year of her life. The Ghost of You is another song that explores this subject, expressing regret and uncertainty in its chorus. The lyric "Could I, Should I" is the most interesting. It continues the suicidal theme present throughout their work and explores the complex emotions attached to this. This was something that Way dealt with frequently, but ultimately worked through. In doing so, he was able to talk about this subject credibly with his fans.
If you or someone you know are severely depressed, you need to fucking talk to somebody. Your best friend, your mom, somebody at school. I don't give a fuck. Because pissing away your life on suicide is fucking bullshit.
First single, I'm Not Okay, I Promise, sees Way digging deep and untangling his confused teenage feelings of unease, rejection, and loserdom. It's the story of a girl having interpersonal problems, such as her boyfriend sharing her naked photos, who is attempting to get help from the narrator, who himself has various issues of his own. The girl dismisses his issues as she doesn't understand them. They are not visible on the surface, and more internal in nature. Way likens this to her loving songs, yet never understanding their true meaning. The music video tries to home in on their targeted demographic, making them very aware that they are not alone. If you ever felt alone, if you ever felt rejected, if you ever felt confused, if you ever felt lost, if you ever felt anxious, if you ever felt wrong, if you ever felt wronged, if you ever felt unclean, if you ever felt angry, if you ever felt ashamed, if you ever felt curious, if you ever felt used, be prepared, feel revenge. Feel the romance. My Chemical Romance. If any of these applied to you, or you liked any of the left to centre interests that Way reels off at the start, this was your band. And it was fair to say that a lot of teenagers felt this way. They comprehended the song's key message. They too were not okay. Where other notable genre anthem, The Middle, comforts from a place of half-remembered experience.
It just takes some time, little girl in the middle of the ride.
I'm Not Okay, I Promise commiserates and empathizes at eye level with every freak, geek, and outsider that is struggling through teenagehood. My Chemical Romance were you. They still are you. Even for a rock band, they are painfully uncool.
Do you want to be like a Motley Crue type band? Are you heading in that direction?
I think we want to play a lot of video games and collect a lot of toys.
No, we wanna roll up Dungeons and Dragons characters.
That's what we really want to play Dungeons and Dragons really bad, and we can't get a group together. I mean, you would think that you have 7, 8, well, we have 9 in the van now.
Yeah.
Guys, you can get a really good game going, but not everybody's into Dungeons and Dragons, you know.
As stated in Given Hell Kid, My Chemical Romance were a composite of their experiences. Everything good and bad that anyone said about them. Their loves, their hates. And they put that out there for everyone to see. People hated them, but that hate made them great. This was most clearly showcased during the band's infamous performance at Reading Festival 2006. Scheduled after thrash metal titan Slayer, the band were greeted with an onslaught of bottles, debris, and golf balls. Despite this, they stood firm, playing harder, while goading the haters in the crowd with their mere extended presence. Because here's the thing about My Chemical Romance. Your hate, your abuse, your vitriol, that's the basis for their whole output. MCR smiled in the face of adversity. That venom made them stronger. They were thankful for it. Without this history of opposition, they would have nothing to sing about, to fight against, and they'd be nowhere near as vital, as life-changing. My Chemical Romance taught that surviving and living a better life is the greatest revenge. A generation of rock fans thanks you.